Yeah, that's interesting. So you were talking about perceptions of performance. I think that's an interesting area because in a lot of cases, that's all it can come down to because there isn't enough factual evidence to really support the performance of a particular supplier in a particular project or across a particular period of time. And what you were talking about in terms of capturing what needs to be done, who's going to do it, what they've promised is crucial, and often is quite difficult to capture on a kind of scalable way in most organizations where you can use the data, which exactly as you say, that's where you need to use services procurement technology to manage that effectively. But then you've got the delivery side of it as well, which layers on all that extra value of, well, what was promised, did it get delivered? Did it get delivered exactly like you say, on time, on budget? Actually did the scope change? Because there's so many ways in which a supplier could be perceived as being ineffective, but actually they're very effective. And likewise, there's ways in which they could be perceived for whatever reason as extremely effective, maybe just because of their name, whereas actually there might be big cost overruns or inefficiencies or whatever it might be. But unless you can actually drill into that, you're going to rely on perceptions. And bearing in mind not only the amount of spend that's involved in services procurement, but the crucial nature of the services that are delivered, it's something that it just can't be ignored, really, can it? I think another thing about services procurement that I've heard you mention before was about the variety in customer types, in the sense that effectively the customer within the organization, looking at needs analysis and things like that, there's a lot of variety, and the services you get from a particular supplier might be just within one very specific area of the business, not necessarily company-wide, but it might be crucial to that area, or there might be other areas that aren't aware of that supplier because it's only used by one particular area. What's your take on that side of things?
Yeah, it's the issue is real, as they say. I think so. My particular area of focus is the business consulting world, and what we've tried to do is really break that into subcategories or service lines, if you like. Strategy consulting, business operations consulting is very different to areas like IT strategy consulting. So we have contracts managed by peers of mine in IT services, apps development, digital enhancements. We sometimes use the same partners, but what we try to do is focus on actually, is this a think and a strategy piece of work, or is this a deliver a squad and bring external expertise in, because either we can't hire or upskill to deliver it all ourselves in the speed that we need to, or actually that's not a key focus area for ours. This is a drop in and drop out type scenario. So what we've tried to do is really get into the weeds of what is it you're looking to achieve, and have we got the right partners to focus on that stage of the process. The overarching, I'll stick with IT, the overarching review of the technology that's used within a business, how it should be structured moving forwards, and the return on investment piece that is delivered to the exec team should be very different to the solution that's then purchased to actually deliver that function alongside our staff and our teams. Then you add to the mix that, this is the first FTSE 100 company I've worked with, and it just so happens to be a really complex one as well. We're going through our own well-documented transitions. It's a really exciting time to be here, but ultimately we're transitioning from an international oil company to an integrated energy company, or IEC. And with that brings the need for skills that we've never had before, all underpinned by data science, data engineering, and more just sight of what's happening, but also the expansion of our midstream and retail businesses. And suddenly you find yourself running a category that has two requirements coming in, one from our production business and one from our retail business. They're kind of looking for the same thing, but they need that industry expertise from the panel that you're looking to send the bid out to. So it's an ever-moving feast. And I think what's absolutely key in the role of a procurement team is to really try and get ahead of that conversation make it more of a proactive one than reactive. And if you run a function like IT, if you run a function like legal, tax, which some of my teammates do, then normally you have a stakeholder list. You have a group in your strategy to really go after. But when you look at the bigger areas of consulting, contingent labor, the talent services piece, in theory, it could be anyone with a badge. So how do you really get in front of the discussion and add the value from a services procurement perspective before the horse has bolted?
Again, yeah, like you say, it comes down to data, doesn't it? If you can see the data on what people are doing, you can then do retrospective analysis and look forward as to how you can improve it. But
and exec support, right, Johnny? So
of course, yeah, 100%.
So
100% agree.
If you've got the triggers in place to say you cannot pass go, or you cannot proceed with this bid either in the way you should through procurement or the way that you shouldn't, sometimes unintentionally, because this is how you did it at your last company. If there are the triggers to stop you moving past that point, then at least we know that it is approved as a sensible way to spend funds and to go after the business.